She called out the Alphabet Mafia, you know, the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, and now she is getting eaten alive on the internet. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, today we're going to be talking about Betty Who. And if you're asking, who is Betty Who? She is an Australian musician and singer. She's got some music out there that you guys can go and check out if you like. Now, she recently was on a podcast titled Made It Out. This is apparently a lesbian-centered podcast, whatever that means. And she had a conversation about her queerness. Now, she is an individual who identifies as queer, but ended up with a man. Now, she decided to speak about this phenomenon and her thoughts on identifying as queer, yet ending up with a man. And this has pissed off the LGBTQ plus community, especially the L. The lesbians are not liking it. Let's watch the clip.
I'm a queer person who was like, I'm probably going to grow up to be gay. And then I became obsessed with a boy. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It doesn't mean that I am not queer and that I don't represent or like love the queer community and exist in the queer community. A huge part of queerness is like identifying yourself and putting yourself under like, you know, Alphabet Mafia. It's like, which one are you? And if you change that, I will never forget it. You know,
Right.
Like, it's funny that Renee Rapp is like, you'll never catch me dating a man. It's like, go off, queen. Like, I love that for you. I also hold space for her in 10 years. If she goes, oops, I met the love of my life and it's this man, I didn't mean to. It's
Right.
like, that's okay. You know, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be illegal for you to fall in love. It's kind of like, now we've come so far that our community is so strong that now it's like a crime to be straight.
So there you have it. There is the clip in question. Now, did she say anything wrong in that clip? Hell no. Okay. She said she happens to be a queer person who fell in love with a man, which happens. And she's going on to say that's okay. You shouldn't be alienated or made to feel like you've made some sort of mistake because you fell in love with a man. Now, she brings up Renee Rapp, which happens to be, I guess, a bigger mistake than any in this clip. That's what people are really talking about. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Renee Rapp, she's a pop star right now who is on a meteoric rise, I guess, really in the LGBTQ plus community. She identifies as lesbian and of course has said she would never date a man, even though she has in the past, but whatever. Okay. Now, because Betty Who has said she holds space for the idea that Renee Rapp could possibly meet a man in the future, they're now calling her lesbophobic. I've heard a lot of phobics in my day. A lesbophobic is not necessarily new, but the flippancy with which this word is being thrown out, be so for real, you guys. Okay. Lesbophobic, she is being called now. A queer woman who is dating a man who's just talking about this phenomenon is now being called lesbophobic. Can you guys give me a break? Can you give anybody else a break? Now, she says jokingly that straight has become illegal with the way that we've sort of politicized things, with the way we talk about these communities and self-identification. And she's not necessarily wrong. This is not just an issue within the LGBTQ plus community. It's an issue within leftism and wokeism. The right deals with this issue as well. This sort of tribalistic view that once you have labeled yourself as part of a group, you are part of that group till the day you die. You must toe the line in the ideology of that particular group, or you're done for. You are not accepted anymore. And that's the feeling that she's getting from the LGBTQ plus community. And that's okay to talk about it. In fact, there's plenty of evidence that what she's saying is actually true. We've watched recently as JoJo Siwa, a young girl who identified as queer, took on a straight relationship dating this guy named Chris Hughes. Now, she was getting flamed online by the LGBTQ plus community who once claimed her, saying that it's ridiculous that she should find herself in an opposite sex relationship. We have another example. There's a singer-songwriter by the name Fletcher who started dating a man, even though she identified as lesbian or queer, something along those lines. And she came out with, I shit you not, an entire song titled Boy, where she essentially apologizes for having fallen in love with a man. Now, I'm not going to read you all of the lyrics of this song. Go and do it for yourself. And it's kind of hilarious given the state of things right now and the social structure of this issue. But let me read you some lyrics. And I know it's not what you wanted to hear, and it wasn't on your bingo card this year. Well, it wasn't on mine. I fell in love, and it wasn't with who I thought it would be, and I'm scared to think of what you'll think of me. His lips were soft. I had no choice. I kissed a boy. Laying my cards on the table, I'll admit, I don't know how to label it. Maybe we should think about labeling things to begin with. Next, she goes, you can think that I'm a hypocrite. That's cool. I'm just following my heart. Is what it is, and only time will tell. And this whole time, she's just apologizing to her audience for having fallen in love with a boy. Can we stand up? Can we actually stand up? You are okay to be in a romantic relationship with whoever you want to be in a romantic relationship with. You are okay to think you're part of one label and then to switch up and realize that you're not. You're okay to not label anything, okay? We can actually just move through the world and experience life and see what befalls us without having to identify as a particular part of a community that we are now, I guess, submitted to and must believe and fall for and be in community with for the rest of our lives. We do not have to keep doing this. But nonetheless, Betty Who is getting response after response to what she said. Of course, many are calling her lesbophobic. I'm going to read you some tweets, and then we're going to watch some video responses as well. One person says, seeing Betty Who essentially imply Renee Rapp could look up in 10 years and decide she wants a man, even though Girly is explicitly identifying as a lesbian and is literally in a relationship, I would be seeing red. The only reason you should be seeing red from what you hear or, hypothesizing that Renee Rapp should be seeing red is if you have poor emotional regulation, okay? She didn't say nothing wrong. She said, go off queen when Renee Rapp said she would never date a man. And she says, you know what? If she just so happens to in 10 years from now, which is a hypothetical, not a prescription, okay? It will be fine. And that she'll also hold space for that. Why are you guys so upset? And when you get so triggered by this, it almost implies an insecurity about the identification and the label that you've put on yourself. Maybe if we were more chill in response to this and you sort of let it fly off like water off a duck's back, nobody would be questioning your identity and the label that you've placed on yourself. But again, I digress. Let's read another one. It says, it's genuinely depressing how much lesbophobic rhetoric is accepted and spread by other queer folks themselves simply because lesbians dare to not be attracted to men. It's just so tired and angry. Also, Renee Rapp should be allowed to cuss out whoever this Betty Who freak is. Another says, Betty Who on that podcast tells Renee Rapp to hold space. And then why are we still pushing the narrative that lesbians just haven't found the right man yet? Is that what she said? Did she say that all lesbians just haven't found the right man yet? Or did she say, I'll leave room for somebody if they just so happen to relinquish themselves of a very hard structured identity and decide that they want something different? I think she said the latter of the two. At least I think. That's what I heard. Let's watch another video. This one's on TikTok, and this is a TikTok response to Betty Who.
This is the type of shit that could only be uttered by a fucking white woman, a white queer one. Oh my god. For reference, if you saw my video from a couple days ago, this is exactly the clip I was referencing. Exactly the clip I was trying to tell Renee Rapp that she hasn't found the right guy, and we would love if in 10 years she became straight, and that straightness is somehow becoming a crime in the fascist country we're living in right now. This is blatant lesbophobia. Like, I don't know what to tell you other than this is just lesbophobia. And I do think there is a huge problem with specifically white bisexual women who have fallen in love with men, and that has been their experience, painting everybody else's experience with the same brush to say, well, this happened for me, so surely it could happen for you too. Which, again, people are gay, honey. People are gay. I am gay, so no, that's actually never gonna fucking happen for me. I'm so irritated.
Oh, wow. A person on the left is so irritated. Okay, breaking news. Fork found in drawer, people. I mean, people are always upset about anything. I mean, just one week, it's a new celebrity. The next week, it's another. And this is going to go on in this cyclical nature for the rest of our lives. It almost becomes meaningless to respond to it. But nonetheless, here we are. There are a couple more TikTok reviews and responses, I guess, that we shall get into before I respond. Let's watch this one. It says, POV, you're a lesbian in 2025.
And then I just became obsessed with a boy. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, and one more. This one says, every woman love woman celebrity in 2025.
Yes, I am with a boy now. I've changed. I'm softer. I've left that life of chaos behind.
Okay, and I'm not even going to dignify this by watching the entire video. You guys get what's happening here, right? Okay, this person said a perfectly reasonable thing. She's actually pointed out something that is worthy of discussion given the way we talk about sexuality and we push orientation onto people and we push people to label not only their sexuality, but every single essence of their being, personality, and living experience. And if somebody dares to question that, and this is the response that they get, it's reinforcing exactly what she said. You've actually given her enough power and ammunition to just restate exactly what she said in that video, because you guys can't stand the idea of somebody questioning the structure of the moral and sexual framework that you live in. That's literally what's happening here. And you know what? We're going to see example after example of young people, young women, young men identifying as queer, lesbian, and gay, and then finding themselves in opposite sex relationships because that's just the way that life goes. And we now live in a time where people feel this deep and distinct pressure to find themselves in a community, to label themselves so that they can be a part of something, so that they can feel like they belong, so that they can have a fight, a movement, a purpose. And right now, that fight, movement, and purpose just so happens to be concentrated within the LGBTQIA+ community. So yeah, you're going to have a lot of people who take on the identity and then realize that, at least for now, I want to be in a relationship with a man or a woman if they're a man identifying as queer. It's going to go on. And interestingly enough, in another example I gave of JoJo Siwa, who's a huge, female figure amongst young people and is very well known in the internet space and just, in the US in general, she said a large part of the reason that she identified as queer and lesbian and started going to the pride parades and becoming such a motivator for the LGBTQ+ movement is because she felt pressured to identify within the group by people within the group. So here you are. It's the reality that you've literally asked for and that you're reinforcing with the response to Betty Who and what she said in this clip. So when she jokingly says that it almost feels illegal to be straight, that we've course corrected too far, she very much has a point because you are literally treating her right now as though she has committed a crime. And there are other examples of this happening within woke ideology and the woke framework. When we look at feminism, you start out with the first, the second, the third wave, and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, we are course correcting for a bit. There are things that women should be able to do. There are ways in which women should be treated that need to be implemented in society. And now all of a sudden we are allowing, men to identify as women and take on womanhood. Well, wait a second. Isn't that actually patriarchal? If we're allowing men to compete against women in their sports, haven't we actually course corrected too far and moved to reaffirm patriarchy? Okay, so when she says we've course corrected too far and now you are alienating people for being in straight relationships, she has indeed a point. If JoJo Siwa is saying she felt pressured to identify, she has a point. If Betty Who is saying she got a lot of heat for being with a man, she has a point. If you have singer-songwriters who literally have to put out an entire song apologizing for being in a romantic relationship, they have a point. And somebody's in the wrong here, and I don't think it's the people who happen to find love with men. Just food for thought. I don't know. Take it or leave it. Guys, those are my thoughts on this whole Betty Who situation. I don't know what else there is to say. Love who you want to love. Be in a relationship with who you want to be in a relationship with. So long as you are not bothering other people and creating harm for other people, infringing on other people's rights, you go ahead and do you. And when other people do them, even if they've put a label on themselves and then retracted the label or had the label shift and move, maybe we should just allow for that because that is literally allowing for the natural human experience. It is indeed life. Guys, if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, duke it out, but do so respectfully. I encourage healthy debate on this channel. And with that, guys, I'm gonna see you tomorrow. What's next? Who's the next person getting flamed online for doing nothing? I don't know, but we'll see you then.